The latest I read, and I am behind, I didn't see this today's Sunday Star, for instance, but there were 3 people arrested. The last I read, they were arrested, they hadn't yet been charged. They're actually named, there's a little bit of script, there's their ages, and a little bit of description. So this falls under the category of an event, if you will, in progress. Whether charges have been laid by this minute, I don't know. What the charges would be, I don't know. It wouldn't be odd if the police didn't get around to laying charges for several hours or a day or 2 days. They have to decide, are they going to charge them with public mischief for endangering life or whatever it may be. But it occurs to me, just for what it's worth, this is just one person's opinion, that that we can, there's no problem in my mind in doing some speculation, some preliminary speculation or theorizing or hypothesizing. As a matter of fact, we can't help but do that. I mean, this is a very interesting thing about that term conspiracy theory when it's used in the pejorative sense rather than in a sense, a normal sense. And the idea is that theorizing is somehow illicit. Well, it's not. It's fundamental to science, and it's fundamental in everyday life. And not only that, but we cannot even help from theorizing. For instance, there's a big bang outside there right now. Without anybody planning it, everyone is going to start to have theories. Was it a car backfiring? Was it a gunshot? Was it a transformer blowing up? We can't even help it. And we rush to the window, and then we see some smoke coming out of a transformer. Now the evidence tells us it was a transformer blowing up. But in the meantime, we have theorized about it autonomously. Okay, so that's what. So now, so then it's legitimate for us to just, not as a parlor game exactly, but to stimulate our brains. It's better than doing Sudoku or something. To speculate and hypothesize about what this may be. So it could be, for instance, 3 authentic individuals who actually believe that they are doing the world a service by blowing up an outlet of the Royal Bank. Or it may be that one of them is a state agent and has kind of roped the other 2 into doing it. Or there may be the 2 state agents and they got one dupe to go along with them. Or maybe all 3 are state agents. Okay, so there are various possible.
Or none of the 3 have anything to do with it.
Or that's
we don't know.
That's good, which Graeme also said at breakfast, and I'd already forgotten that possibility. Or what that?
Or these people don't actually exist.
Or these people don't even exist. Yeah, no, really, you have to use your imagination.
So the arrests were never made.
But in the meantime, there's a whole media
frame
of this
now
that we're affected by.
Yeah, and that's not theoretical, see? So let us take the case where they were all authentic, they actually thought this is a good thing to do. And we could say then, as people in the peace movement, well, this was very inappropriate because it is so counterproductive. It besmirches all sorts of people who wouldn't do such a thing and tars us all with this same brush, this same arsonist brush, if you will. So then we can say, well, that's really unfortunate that they would do that. And they might as well be state agents because they have actually fulfilled the kind of thing the state would want, which is to sow fear and to tar every protester with the violent brush. It's but it remains to be seen. We're a long way from a trial in that case.
But just to add one comment to that, I mean, clearly we need to use our method, which is we ask critical questions. We do our clippings, and especially in the first little while after the event, the TV coverage is very important. The newspaper coverage, all that should be collected. We open a file. We gather eyewitnesses. We try to have access to the people in question. We investigate. We, the social movements, have to have our own independent capacity to investigate. We cannot depend upon the state to investigate this credibly. And this is something that the 9/11 Truth Movement has been trying to build up. So in this case, as in the others, somebody in this room or elsewhere needs to open a file and start documenting everything, because a lot of that stuff will go down the memory hole soon.
And if I might just add to that, following on from that, there's an intersection here, or maybe there's a non-intersection between journalism and the 9/11 Truth Movement. Now, journalists, according to their self-declared mandate, are the watchdogs of society. Not only that, but they're supposed to afflict the comfortable and comfort the afflicted. So it turns out that journalists in general are not doing this self-appointed job of being the watchdogs of society without fear and favor investigating issues of major public concern that are life and death and bread and butter issues. They're not doing that. Demonstrably, they're not doing it. And so it turns out that in the case of 9/11, it's the 9/11 Truth Movement, and I'd like to mention before we finish today about the rebranding that really is needed, I think, for the 9/11 Truth Movement. That the 9/11 Truth Movement is the largest investigative journalism project on the planet today. We have independent researchers, we have independent communicators who are disseminating the findings of the research. So the mainstream media have abdicated entirely their job, and the job is being picked up by citizens, mainly citizens in the 9/11 Truth Movement.
My name is Lena Kenna, and I would consider myself a member of the peace movement, except I do most of it overseas. I do nonviolence, third-party nonviolent intervention in places like South Mindanao and Sudan and Basra. And I was saying to Graeme, it was a while ago when David Griffin was here several years ago, and I was intrigued the number of, I'm a minister as well, of process theologians who are involved in this movement. I had just read Jim Douglas's book. I'd gotten an early manuscript. He's a friend. And it predisposed me to listen to David Ray Griffin with a different set of ears. And my question is, and I'm sure you've posed this question many times, I'm wondering what other people's answers to the question might be, and that is why there is reluctance, an ostracization, as you're calling it, by people like me. And as I pose the question to myself, and that's not my posture at this point, but when I pose the question to myself, my answer is all about despair. And that I am only one human being in a whole party of people, no doubt, so many of whom I hope will be on the streets over the next few days, non-violently making their point known. And I can't court that much despair. I have my limitations. I make my living by pressing my nose up against some of the most despairing places in the world. And I do okay. But then I have my limits. I find the Gulf, I find the tar sands are also in those places for me where I don't know if I can cope with the rage. I'm yogic, I'm a pacifist, and I don't know. And as these days approach, I'm finding the anger rising up in me in ways that are really distressing for me. And so, but I came here today to press my nose up against this one once more. So what do others say? I don't know if I can cope to know anymore. I feel as if I have many years ago in my life, made the decision to walk into the arena that is human awareness. What is really going on out there? And paid a lot of cost. It's been very costly for probably everybody in this room in their own way. The ostracization that I've experienced in my family, my neighborhood, and varies in some ways and at some times my church. And so I feel that I don't know if I can go there.
Really good question. I hope everybody heard it. I'm not going to try and repeat it because it's quite long. But very good question about how we can emotionally handle some of these things. And I first of all think you're right that part of the reason a lot of people cannot hear this, what we're trying to say, is because it's too desperately depressing to think that the people who are charged with our safety and security are murdering us. I talked to a woman in Connecticut a year and a half, 2 years ago, who said to me that when her daughter, her pregnant daughter, died in the collapse of the Twin Towers, it was bad enough. But when she discovered that her own government had murdered her daughter and her daughter's unborn child, she said, my whole world went upside down, and it's been upside down ever since. Now, the only thing I have to say, because I don't want to go on a long talk here, is that each of us has our own feeling, our areas of extreme vulnerability, and other areas where we know we can cope and we can contribute. And I don't think we all have to be riding exactly the same train. So if you're in Sudan doing, mediation work or something, I say, do it. God bless you. It's important. There's no reason for you to feel you have to now run and join the 9/11 Truth Movement. I think we're all working together. I have areas that I can't go to. I'm aware of them, but they're too painful to get into deeply. And the whole species extinction thing is one of them for me, like what we're doing to other living beings. So profoundly painful that although I'm aware of it, I can't bring myself to get deeply involved in it. For some reason, the 9/11 Truth thing is something I am prepared to get into. I seem to be able to channel my rage productively in this one. It's there, but I'm able to channel it. I always laugh when people say, oh, Graeme, you're such a peaceful person. And I say, you should talk to my wife. I'm sitting there in the computer doing my 9/11 research, and she comes in and she says, what are you doing? And I say, I'm going to get those bastards. Of course there's angers. It's a question of, channeling that properly. Barrie, did you want to?
Well, there could be, everyone in this room could, we could very productively and fascinatingly explore this for the rest of the afternoon and the evening. But I would just offer yet just another perspective. I too feel great anger quite often. And my dad was a pretty angry guy. He was a United Church minister.
He was a wonderful guy. I knew him.
He was a wonderful guy. And we all went to that great peace rally in New York City on June the 12th, 1982, on the Voice of Women bus.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, a million people didn't get properly reported. Completely peaceful. But anyway, so the thing is to use, I figure, to use my anger as fuel. And I got a big canister of that, and I never run out of it. Also, I find that there is gratification in being, if say we're revolutionaries, we could arbitrarily define ourselves as revolutionaries. We're quite, I'm not sure if everybody in this room will agree or would accept this designation, but let's say everyone does. We're revolutionaries. We're opposed to the whole global system. It is so corrupt and death-dealing. So we're revolutionaries, but we have a lot to be thankful for. Because, for instance, we have meaningful work to do. We're not bored. We're not confused. Well, we can be a bit confused. But we have meaningful work to do in this world right until we drop dead. Right? And we make marvelous friendships. There's tremendous bonding that we can appreciate. And my particular approach is I'm an atheist Christian humanist. That's how the label I give myself, because I have not given up the Christian background, but I can't believe in any supernatural being. I can't myself. I don't disrespect others who do.